Hello all, welcome back. In the last session, we understand how to deal with a multiple context, right? So in the last example, we have created like four components and B is a child of A and C is a children of B and D is a children of C. And we have created two contexts. One is a user context, another one is a theme context. And we are able to access user context and theme context in any of these components. Okay, that's what we have understood, like how to create a multiple context, how to wrap, how to attach any root component, but that is our choice. And if you attach that, that context can be available for all the components. But here, one important thing is there, that is a default value. Because here, I'm just giving a default value, how it is going to work and in which situation it is going to be helpful. Okay, here, normally people say that Raghu, it's very simple. If you don't provide any value, it will take the default value, right? That's what the simple thing. But here in React, there is a small twist is there. Understand it carefully. So hopefully you have done a practice of last two sessions. If you have done, you can understand easily what we have written in our project. Otherwise, it's somewhat difficult. Okay, so just go to the app.js. If you see, we have created two contexts. One is user context and theme context, and we have imported that. And if you just go to that user context, I have given a default value as guest, and the theme context I have given as a dark mode. Okay, right now just leave the theme context, just focus on the user context. What is the default value of the user context? That is a guest. And what we are providing here, that is my name, like Raghu. Okay, so it is working properly. And in which component we are trying to use the context value, hopefully in the component D. See, just go to the component D. So A, B, C, D are like same, equal. So here we are consuming that context. So I just use context hook, and if you provide the proper context name, and it is going to read that value and you can display. So now in that user context, we are providing the value as Raghu so that it will display. It will display. Okay, now tell me. Okay, just guess it. Suppose if I forgot to add the value here while attaching that provider, I forgot to add it. Now just tell me what will be the output. What will be the output? Whether it is going to display in the component D, whether previously it is displaying Raghu, right? Right now I just remove that. So now just tell me whether it will display the default value, because the default value is there, right? Is that user context here? The default value is there. Whether it will display the default value or not. That is the very interesting thing. Just okay, note down or just um note down on a paper, whatever it is what is your answer. Otherwise, just ping me in the comment section. What is the expectation? Like what will happen? Okay, but naturally we will think that okay, Raghu, it's the default value. So this is the user context, and we have provided the value as a guest. So obviously, if you don't provide any value while attaching the provider, it should read this value. That is what our expectation, right? Just see, but what is happening? It is not displaying anything. Huh? It is not displaying anything. Observe carefully. Right now, it is not displaying anything. If you provide some value at that here while just defining the provider, okay, so it will display this name. So it is getting this value. If you don't provide the value, it is not displaying. Then what is the use of default value, right? We are giving the default value here, but if it is not useful, what is the need to mention this default value? Okay, I hope you guys understand right? So the problem was here we are providing the context, and in component D we are consuming that context with the help of user context hook. Okay, and simply if you don't provide the if we have provided the default value, but it is not affecting, it is not useful right now. But in which situation? Because here, remember, this is a mandatory thing. Okay, when you are defining the provider, when you are attaching in, when you are wrapping in the context provider to any component tree, this providing the value is must and should. We should provide the value. Okay, if it is mandatory, if it is a mandatory, then what is the use of this providing the default value? That's what we are going to understand now. Okay, I hope you guys understand the situation. So in which situation it is going to helpful now? Observe carefully, easy. So suppose in case is I'm not attaching this user context to a component tree at top level. So I'm just attaching this user context at the level B. Observe carefully. This is very, very important. So with a single shot, we can understand two concepts. Okay. What I'm doing, I'm not attaching this user context to the root component, that is app component. I'm just attaching it to the B. That means the C and D can access the context, right? User context. C and D can access the context. So let's implement that. Then what I'm doing, so here from D, I'm just trying to access the user context. At the same time, I will try to access it from A. Then what will happen? Okay, then what will happen? This will happen because when you attach this user context to the B, then it is allowed to read the value from the user context. So though in the D you will get suppose if you provide the value, right? So you will get Raghu. A, because A don't have access to read the value from the user context. So at the time it will give the default value. Got it? So that is the use of default value in the context. Let's see practically. Understood? So just remove the context from the root component, that is app, attach it to wrap it to the component B, so that this context will be accessible only from this children's of B. A is not children of B. A is a parent for B. So that A should not access the user context. So in that situation, if you just try to use the use context or user context, at the time it will provide the default value. So now let's do the same thing. So component D is there. So here I'm just removing user context from the root component. Okay, root component. So what I told you, we should wrap it to the component B. So just go to component B, component B. Just add this one user context. Hopefully it's from the same path. At the same time, just remove these things. User context provider from the root. So right now for the root app component, we have only one provider. So this can be accessible from any child component of that app component. But for B, we are attaching user context dot provider. Okay, why it is not showing intelligence? Don't worry. Okay, save it. So that means you can access this context details from the component D, because component D is a grandchild of B. So let's see the output whether it is working or not. First of all, maybe for import statement is wrong. use context. So sometimes if you copy paste, it will be a problem. Okay, from so just find out where it is. Components forward slash user context. Here user context. Uh, this is right. Yeah, you see, we are getting the value, and if you change the value in the, this is the provider. Suppose if you say Virat is coming. So if you try to read this user context from the component A, because A is not children of B, so that naturally you should not access it. But if you just try to access it, what will happen? What will happen? Okay, just go to the component A and import import same thing like user context and slash user context. Here user context is there, and if you want to consume it, what we need to do, we need the hook also, right? So just use, when you are using hook, automatically it will import. So constant value is equal use context hook. Okay, automatically it has imported from the React library, and just provide from which context you want to read the value, that is from user context. Fine, and just try to read that value here. So let's see whether it is displaying the default value or not. You see, we got the default value, we got the default value. But if you don't provide the provider, like if you don't provide the value for this provide while attaching the provider at the component level B, you can't see that value here. Okay, you can't get any value. So the only the situation when you don't have a right to access from the user context, at the time it will give a default value. So normally we will sometimes we will get in a confusion that Raghu, yes, in the component B, suppose if I forgot to give a value as Virat, it should give a it should give a the default value. That's what we will think, but it React is not working like that. Okay, React is not working like that. This is mandatory, because whenever you are providing, that's our responsibility to provide the value. So right now it is not showing any error, but if you just deal with the TypeScript, definitely it will throw an error. So that's why the TypeScript is really, really, really awesome. So here I just mentioned, okay, even you can put curly brace and you can just mention Rahane. So today we are playing like final day of Test Championship. Okay, Virat and Rahane is there. Hopefully we should win. Okay, we are going to win. So it's very tough, but yeah, let's best hope for the best. At the same time, we have a French Open final. Djokovic is going to play the final today again. Hopefully, he's going to lift the 23rd Grand Slam. Okay, so let's say you are able to see this value. So I hope you guys understood. I hope you guys understand. This is really, really awesome. Just do practice. I'm saying, without, if you don't do practice, you can't remember anything I'm saying, and you will get confusion. React is not that much easy if you don't do practice. If you do practice, it's easy. Okay, that's all for today, and let's discuss about one small thing. So here we are able to access it from the context, right now. So anyway, we are going to discuss that tomorrow, but I'm just giving introduction. So if you see, the context is there, context is there. Here from this context, you are reading the value, you are reading from value from the context, right? One direction. Okay, or the theme context, maybe either I'm not sure which component we have. using. So you can use that theme context anywhere. But I want to suppose user context is there. User context is there. That is right now we are mentioning like Rahane something. So I want to update this value in the context. I want to update the value in the context. Okay, how to do that? Is it possible or not? How to do that? So that is most important topic, and definitely you will fall in love if you do practice. Otherwise, you will fall into confusion. Okay, thank you and see you in the next session. Bye bye.